Hello and welcome to this weekly vodcast. I'm with Karine Labrosse today, and we're going to be diving into reinventing systems that fit your calling. And we'll dive into this theme through questions and answers, and let's see what wants to come up and share for this topic today. Hi, Karine.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
Pretty good and a lot happening.
Yeah, for sure. Same here. We the teachers here are on a strike, so it's been a few hectic weeks trying to juggle a bit the schedule of working and having a kid at home, and we were talking about it earlier, but my realization was that I'm very dependent on the school system, even though I'm an entrepreneur. I work from home and I have flexibility in my schedule, but still it was interesting to me to realize how much I was depending on the school system to take care of my kid for that amount of time. And I know that you chose differently, so I wanted to kind of discuss that topic. How do you Yes, how did you choose to not send your kid to regular school, and what were the choices, and how did you follow your calling to make that system in place, create that system?
Yes. So it's it was really work in progress, and the calling was there for a while. So for me, the calling of taking Noah, my son, out of school when he was, let's say, 7, he had done a year in preschool actually. And for me, and that's the reason of, everything that I bring through these services that I bring is all about uh one's individual essence and light and embodied power, authentic power. And for me, the system as it is, the educational system as it is, or the public system, or whatever external structure that we have for now, especially in big cities, is not necessarily um, preserving this vital energy for the kids. And for me, it was of crucial importance to give that space for my son to stay connected to his core center, to his connection to his power. And he started his first year at school, and I saw him develop some anxiety symptoms, like he was chewing his seatbelt or his clothes. He had like a lot of sugar craves when he was coming back home. And because I have this awareness of the body, I could really notice how his body was responding to his day, or how his tensions wanted to be released at the end of the day when he had a bit of space to breathe and to be
Mm.
coming back to center. So for me, when these symptoms started appearing, it was like, that's it. Like the reality started bridging with the calling, because I was resisting the calling. The calling was knocking at my door, since I was pregnant. I knew from the beginning that this was the way I wanted to educate my son, but uh, it it really requires this, extra courage to really do it and to really
Mm.
bridge it from the vision, the dream, to the reality. So, but the second I did this and I owned up to the calling and to really what my deep knowing knew, to this very, very strong intuitive call, I really, as a mother, as a woman, as a human, I reclaimed power in myself. So it anchored me in more responsibilities for sure, but it also anchored me in more power. And this from this power, like the structures started coming organically by listening to who is my kid, what does he need, and to play in this too. It didn't need to be super serious, but
Mm.
for me, the main equation was how to keep enough space so that the child develops organically, getting to know himself and exploring different ways of living. So I included traveling. I included different. I mean, we came to the jungle school here in the jungle in Pachamama. We had homeschooling centers. There were different ways to approach it. But all of this to say is that the first step is to say, yes, the calling is here. yes, the responsibility will be here, but it's not responsibility out of the mind that it's something forced. It's more the responsibility because it's a new embodiment that as a parent we choose, that is not easy to choose, but it's something that's really chosen from inside, because deep down our core as parents, we also know, yeah, we feel that,
Yeah.
you know, like the light of our children is important. And by all means, the system, it's not that it's wrong or anything, you know,
Yeah.
like it's when there's really a calling, I think it's important to listen to it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think it's really, as you said, you know, it's not the system, it's personal, you know, what, like when you started your business, when I started mine, it was really out of a calling bigger than, you know, a job. It's really following the nuggets that leads you to that. And we always come back to the body, of course, but like, can you tell me more about that? You know, how does it manifest in your body following the calling, you know?
How does following the calling manifest in my body? I mean, for me, it's an intuition. It's in my guts. There's a strong pull towards a direction, and it always comes at first with an excitement and expansion, but also with strong resistance. The strong resistance comes from the fact that there's an identity or a life setup that will need to die, and
Mm,
that, you know, the ego, the persona is resisting. That's what's the resistance. It's not necessarily that there's a real danger, it's the fear of death that is in the way, and this is felt in the body also. But there comes a point where we really realize that if we don't follow the calling, we start losing a tremendous amount of energy. Like there's something like feeling depleted inside of our bodies. And there's so much resistance we can put in the body because the resistance takes energy. It takes
mm,
energy. But when the calling is taking you in a direction, but the mind is like negotiating, then the body can go to the ultimate wall, which is really getting sick because it's keeping energy, it's resisting, and then sometimes even we don't even hear the calling anymore, meaning that the knots in the body and the congestion of the answers, the messages is so dense that we don't feel it. But what this means that there's less life circulation in the body. And less life circulation in the body means that, yes, there's less vitality in the cells and the tissues, and then the tissue starts um, being diseased to the
mm,
point where, yes, we can have physical symptomatics of disease that comes with this. But obviously, this whole path is about really, really picking up on the calling first and the messages and like starting to take action, releasing the fears as fast as we can, not out of fear of being sick, but out of like being so much in love with vitality and energy and being passionate about life and being curious about the mystery and where life is leading you. It really does require courage. But again, what's the price to pay when we actually don't follow the calling?
mm.
And I'm not here promoting, you know, like living until 200 years old or 300 years old. I know some people do promote this, and I do have the inner experience of feeling my cells even feeling younger than sometimes when I was younger, when I was more congested in my tensions. So this is definitely a path that is part of the exploration of like how how young can we look as we're growing older, not necessarily being dependent on creams or on other things, just with our really deep connection with soul and source and our inner vitality. For me, it's fascinating. It's fascinating to bridge this. So yeah, that's how my body speaks. And the equation is follow the calling, drop the fears, and receive more energy, receive more responsibility and power. But and also you do it until you don't, until the next calling comes in.
Yeah.
And this it doesn't really stop. But there's some chapters that are longer, like homeschooling my son was a big chapter until it came from him. Hey mom, like I want to be more in a school context. Okay. And does this information come from the mind field, or does it come from really like a real anchored vitality? So that's it. And then you follow this, because we're two people also when it comes to education. Like it's not
Yeah.
only me, right? There's the child, and that's the child is the main piece in the equation. Like lately, he told me very assertively, I want to go back to Canada to study. And I really felt in his energy, it was really coming from his primal force, vital energy. Like there's no, and we feel this when we don't feel any hesitation in the field. It's like, whoom, like whoom, it goes there. That's the direction. And there's no negotiation. There's no room energetically for negotiation. So I know that this is true for him, for his body, for his reality. Therefore, as the mother, this, you know, the structure is going to be created for his life force to thrive. And let's see where my path is going to guide me in all of this. But to not stay attached to formats also, but to really address what is a body expression in time, you know, based on the calling. That's very important as guides, you know, as guides for our own bodies,
Yeah.
but for the people that we guide and the children. As parents, we are guiding children. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think you said the title is Reinventing, and I think it's really
yes,
fitting as a parent, as a businesswoman, but also as human. You know, we tend to want things to stay the same, but the key part is really we have to reinvent ourselves all the time. If not, we kind of, well, we die if you don't choose that step of saying, okay, this is not aligned anymore, let's try something else, let's create something new, let's move forward, then
yes,
it just, it's stuck. You feel stuck. Usually when we don't go into that creative mode, we're just like everything's looks really
yes.
heavy.
Mm. Yeah, and you said it's like reinventing, but trying, like really giving yourself sometimes the permission to try
Mm,
different things, especially because it's not going to be clear 100% of the time. Sometimes it gets blurry and it gets really uncomfortable of like, especially in these big moments of transitions when a chapter is finished and you're like, okay, like you just start feeling in your body, oh, like life is not, I'm not being nurtured by life as much, you know? So there's something saying you're not really walking in the right direction anymore. There's a new calling. So we really need to create space and be in the mystery, dive back into the magic and the mystery and try different things. And of course, like it's at first it might feel forced, but to still like be very intimate with like what's your desire, what's your love, where do you feel guided, go and explore. It's going to be out of the comfort zone. It's going to be like moves that you don't really usually do. It's going to be out of the routine per se.
mm,
And then you're going to start having new body responses and you're going to start noticing, okay, like here's where my body's thriving right now. And it's bigger than a desire, a punctual desire. It's like, okay, like my body's opening to this direction. It's opening
mm.
to this direction. So you keep on exploring and then answers come and you create a new
Yeah.
system for your life. But it's not, it's really, again, having the courage to see a blank page in front of you and to really ask the open question, what is the system that my soul wants to navigate in? And not
Mm.
limit ourselves with the systems that exist and that make us feel stuck. I don't believe in being stuck, you know, like I believe that I mean, we do feel stuck, but I believe that, you know, like the second we start feeling stuck, there's really open questions that we can ask ourselves genuinely of like, okay, like it's starting to feel small. This box, this system is starting to feel small for my soul that wants to expand. What's the new system? What,
Mm.
you know, what else is possible? And to know that this is part of being a creator, that we're like, okay, well, this system doesn't fit. I'm going to start letting it go slowly but surely. And I'm going to be curious about the new system that's in place. Maybe some other system that's already in place fits you better. Maybe you are the creator of this new system and you know, so it's,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's a lot of curiosity and love on the path. And that's why I insist on ground, because it does require this inner safety. Without it, your ground is always weaving with external structures and systems to feel safe, when the true safety is within your own ground system, within the system of Earth. And again, I
Yeah.
won't go too deep with this, but again, it's, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I totally agree with you. The embodiment practice is so important to feel safe in your own body. And as I said, you know, I realized that I was dependent on the system. If you are dependent on the system, you can't hold your own. So it's the same everywhere. Like if I feel safe inside myself, then I'm less dependent on the external security and everything. So everything you're doing has to do with the membership you're leading, the coaching you're giving is really around feeling safe in your body and trying to create something out of this embodied state that feels real. It was really interesting because you said my body feels pulled. You know, I can really sense where it wants to go. And I think that's the key learning here in all the practice that you're doing.
Yes. It's, we are sensitive, so it's to re-tap into this natural state of sensitivity. We are, when we are stuck in many systems, we're really navigating tons of different things that are not ours. So it's difficult to really discern. But when we do have practices that create that spaciousness inside, we have the space to listen and to feel the pulls, and to feel also the differences in the pulls, you know? So and people who are listening, like, you know what your dreams are, you know what you've been dreaming of, you know what you want, you know. And it's a matter of realizing that the fears that keep you in the systems that are no longer in service for you, it's there's a price to pay for this. And I don't want to be drastic, but there is a price to pay with your own life force, when this life force wants to go and create new things for your life. And I'm not saying to change everything from one day to the other, because your nervous system also needs to build a resilience to hold the ground of a new system. But it's really important to go and follow these pulls more and more and more, and to surround yourselves with people or mentors who are walking this path that you're desiring to walk. And whether you're a mother or an entrepreneur, or, you know, like whatever you're doing, is like you're deep into spirituality, like it's these are all paths that require courage. And it's finding this inner system that holds you as a sovereign being, that will give you the answers of your path. And then you're in collaboration with others who are also sovereigns, and then it becomes really beautiful. And it's not codependent relationships with systems or with other people, but rather you are creators meeting with ownership of their value, ownership of their inner design, and, you know, inner of their blueprint per se. And you meet as creators, and it's a totally different game than I need you, you need me. We're kind of like, you know, taking energy from one another, but none of us is happy. You know, that's what the system offers most of the time. And some people are very happy in the system too, you know, and that's okay. So, but once you start feeling in your body that something is not aligned, it doesn't taste as satisfactory, that's already an alarm, and it must be addressed. It must be addressed. Like, I am personally like in this transition where there are some things in the systems that I have created from 10 years ago up until now that I'm like, ooh, something needs to start changing. So I'm really doing exactly what I'm sharing right here. I'm pondering where it feels like spacious and where I'm feeling the pulls. It's totally out of my normal routines. But I'm exploring, and I'm like, okay, show me life. Where are you guiding me here? And I'm willing, I'm curious, I'm going to do it. Let's do it, you know, so that there's even more potency and more creativity coming on board. And that's what happened also when I decided to homeschool my son. It's or when I decided to jump and offer services organically and have what we call a heart-centered business, or now it's a different stretch. The business wants to expand, so it's a whole new stretch of things that I've never done before, but it's like this is where it's guiding me. So
Yeah,
it's a
for sure.
matter of listening and being a steward of it.
Reinventing ourselves over and over again.
Yes. Yes, reinventing ourselves over and over.
Yeah. Our time is coming to an end. We could go on for hours as usual. Did you want to share one last thing before we say goodbye for today?
Not so much. There's always an invitation to come and work as a mentee, as a member of the practice, to really accelerate your process and to be supported first in your body, second in your day-to-day life, not to tell you what to do, but to give you a reflection and keep on mirroring what's already inside of you, the answers that you are going to have the space to voice. And that's very important to build this uh, inner real confidence around being sovereign and creating your own systems, to have somebody to bounce with and to validate to a certain extent the depth of the answers that you have within, from to bounce it with a pole that's holding that frequency and that's living also in alignment with where you want to be going. So that's really the invitation here, to choose to be accompanied and to choose to be guided in the process.
Yeah, and it helps. It helps to be with people who are on the same path, for sure.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like without this, I would not be where I am also, honestly.
Yeah.
I've always had mentors around me or coaches. I've always been surrounded by communities that are walking the same path as me. And as I go, I surround myself by friends and by people who are, going where I'm going and who are also, yes, moving towards what they're creating. So it's crucial importance. We cannot stay in the systems that we're always in if we want to grow. This is a death, and it's required.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Jen. Of course,
Yes.
it's always a pleasure, and see you people around, we hope.
Thank you, people. All right, you know where to contact me if you need more information. Bye-bye.